Hello, my loves, and welcome back to BehatiLife YouTube channel. If we're meeting for the first time, welcome, and for those of you that are old friends and family, welcome back. As you guys can see by the title of today's video and the chart that's pulled up on the screen on the iPad, we are going to be diving into the week ahead as well as the full moon that's happening in the sign of Sagittarius, May 23rd at 9:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I've been talking a lot on this channel about the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows of life lately as we know it. This is going to be one of those weeks of major pivotal change in our personal lives, as well as in the world around us, what we see on the news. I've been talking a lot about the intensification of energies, especially when it comes to truth-telling, change that's much needed. That can be very, very difficult for people depending on the way that they live their lives, partly because of Pluto retrograde right now and Saturn transiting through the sign of Pisces, dealing a lot of karma, major karmic lessons, and having to face the choices and decisions of our past. I think if you look in today's times, if you look on the calendar, or if you look on the news or entertainment, you'll be able to see those energies revealing themselves pretty loudly, pretty significantly. Also, if you take a step back and look into your personal life and your personal world, hopefully not to the intensity that we are seeing unfolding in the public, but in your personal life, we're seeing a lot of karmic lessons, a lot of much needed, necessary changes. And for each of you, it's going to be different depending on your personal chart. This is one of those weeks that seems to be very promising. The clouds, the heaviness of the clouds that have been lying like fog in our lives is starting to clear up. Partly this is going to be because of the sun entering in the sign of Gemini on the 20th, Monday, the day that is that I'm recording, as well as some more positive, easier transits as the week unfolds. We're going to talk about all of those things. So go ahead, get some tea, fill up your glass of water or cup of water, and we'll go ahead and dive right in. All right, my loves, so we're ready to go ahead and dive right in. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me once again. Another week, another chart. Let's go ahead and dive into it. So one thing I love to do is to take a step back before I take a step forward. And the reason why is because with astrology, sometimes it's so easy to talk about the future and what it is that I can predict and what we can plan for. I'm really big on preparing for the future, but it's very important that we retrace our steps and kind of look over our shoulders at exactly what it is that we're walking out of, or the transits that are currently impacting us that may not necessarily be starting their change in their rotation or starting their transit. They might be in the middle or at the very end of it, but we are feeling the significance, the weight of those planets and those energies. One of those energies that's really standing out to me is the fact that Pluto has been retrograde. Pluto is the planet of death, regeneration, and transformation. When it is retrograde, it is retracing its steps, going back, nearing closer and closer to the sign of Capricorn, but now currently transiting through the sign of Aquarius. Now, like I said before, Pluto is wonderful for pulling energy up from the root and shaking it so that we can see all of the bugs, the grubs, the bacteria that have been eating away at the plant that we have grown, or the plant that was growing, whether it was a weed, whether it was medicinal, or whether it's toxic and invasive in our lives. I really want to, and I really have been encouraging you guys to look at what Aquarius is ruling within your personal chart by pulling your natal chart and looking for this sign in particular. This is the sign of Aquarius, and this right here, this letter P, represents the energy of Pluto, this planet of major change and revelation, death, destruction, and a total power cleanse of this area in our lives. Now, when Pluto is retrograde, retracing its steps, it's having us go back and sift and look at those little grub worms. Part of it, what we can do during the retrograde is to ask, where did this come from? Where did this come from? What does it serve? How can I get rid of it? How can I cleanse myself? For many of us, this has a lot to do with things, energy that have zapped us of our feeling of personal empowerment, our feelings of control, or the areas of our life or relationships that have had a negative or toxic or bind on us. Sometimes this can represent toxic relationships. Sometimes it can represent toxic patterns. It's very important that we take as much time as we can give ourselves to decode, decipher, and sort through what is falling from the root of us and our lives right now. Now, like I said at the very beginning, the intro of this week's video, it's interesting to watch how these energies are playing out in current times. If you look on entertainment, if you look on the news, we're watching the downfall of people, presences, energies, and positions of power that have gone on for far too long, that have abused their power, that are now, there's now an influence, or now there's an energy on focusing on retribution, regaining clarity, regaining the truth or discovering the truth, people speaking up, people who were once powerless now having a voice. It's always the person or always the energies that seem like they are the most vulnerable, that they are the most humble, that they are the most overlooked, that now come into themselves and now have a position that they are empowered, they're being heard, they're being seen. This has a lot to do with Pluto retrograde through the sign of Aquarius. We're watching this with P. Diddy. Definitely. We are also going to watch this play out even further in politics and government, and also any and all industries, not just the entertainment industry and not just government, any and all industries, how they have woven themselves into each other to abuse, to manipulate, to take advantage of those who were less fortunate, those who did not have resources, those that were not in any way empowered. They have extracted from them a little, but a lot, because that's all they had. And that became that became the things that made them powerful, by putting people in a position that makes them vulnerable, that makes them weak. And when Pluto was transiting through the sign of Capricorn, those energies were really starting to be shook. The ground, the soil that they were rested in was being shook. And that's what started breaking the plant free, breaking that tree free with all those roots, that toxic root. And now that Pluto is transiting through the sign of Aquarius, we are able to see, because we've uprooted it, we're pulling it up, we are able to see exactly what those grub worms, what they look like, where they've been lying, the damage that they've done. And we are able to begin to talk about it, share the message, and not be punished. Now, we're seeing this again in current times and current events. A lot of revelations, a lot of truth, a lot of, it's like storytelling, but really what it is telling people's stories, telling the truth, the bare bones honesty of what happened. We're going to see a lot of that. But in our own personal lives, looking at ourselves in our own individual realities, in our intimate pockets of ourselves, who, what, where have we too been violated? Where have we exchanged our power? What type of energies or people have we had on a pedestal? What is being revealed to us right now that says, listen, I understand why you felt the need to put this person on a pedestal. I understand why this relationship, this energy, this mindset was exalted in your life. But did it really, honestly, shaking free, did it really serve you, or did it serve to continue to keep you in a place of disempowerment? The truth will set you free. It will be very painful. Pluto transits, especially retrograde, are never things that are easy to digest. They create a lot of trauma. They create a lot of triggering. They create a lot of harsh realities that we have to sit with and digest. But once we start to face it, and once we take our power back, we will be better because of it. Although the journey to get through this is going to be tough for many. For some of you guys, it's going to look like a shakedown in certain connections, in certain relationships, people who have held secrets, people who do not wish to speak their truth, or they felt not because of any negative thing, but because generationally they were taught to be guarded, to protect certain parts of themselves, or to hide certain aspects of their truth and their story because there's shame, because there's guilt, because there was no other way, because that's all that they've known. These are the very energies that are being shook down and being revealed. And it's very important that Aquarius energy here, whether that represent you or whether it represent this chapter in your life, this chunk of your life, that you begin to apply the very much needed pressure to get the truth, the answers, the clarity, the direction that it is that you need right now. That is the energy that we have been swimming through. And that is a whole mouthful. It's very intense, but it's very, very important. And it's setting the foundation for the remainder of the week ahead. And honestly, the rest of this year. 2024, 2025 is going to continue to bring out a lot of truth-telling revelations. It will be shocking, to say the very least. It's going to shift power from politics and bigger business and these larger systems that network and connect and feed into each other. It's going to take the power away from them and sprinkle it to the people. It's going to be the voices of people asking for fairness, for equality, for resources, for truth-telling, for transparency, for honesty and authenticity, integrity. That is what people are asking for, and fairness, especially when it comes to the treatment of humanity, people as a whole. The people who are being empowered now are going to be those who seem like they're less fortunate, or those who have been powerless, have never been in a position of power. Okay, the powers are definitely shifting here. So what does this mean for you in your personal life? Again, this is about you sifting through the parts of yourself that, again, what parties, who energy, what person or people or mindsets do you put on a pedestal? What things do you give excuses to? What do you give explanations for? Do they actually deserve it? Or is it more important for you now to stop telling yourself that same story and start realizing that this is the truth of the situation? That truth will set you free. It will be painful, but it will empower you to understand, like, I didn't need this person. I didn't need this energy. I didn't need this job. I didn't need this dynamic. It actually was doing me more of a disservice. It was actually prolonging a toxic connection or a toxic environment that has gone on for way longer than it is that it needed to. Now, let's go ahead and switch into more, I don't want to say positive, but more, the energy is going to switch a little in the start of this week into levity, although this transit is still going to be felt the entirety of this year, whether Pluto is retrograde or not. On the 20th, the sun, representing our ego and collective consciousness, is going to be entering to the sign of Gemini. Gemini is this cute little, sometimes it looks like two little goldfish coming together in my opinion. It's going to be, the sun is going to be entering into the sign of Gemini. We're going to see this transit getting closer and closer. This is actually, we're already in the midst of it at the time that I pull this chart. This chart reflects the full moon that's happening in the sign of Sagittarius. I'm going to pull cards on that as well. So make sure that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel so that you can hear those, that reading. If you are interested, if you need some additional guidance, astrological but intuitive, the sun is going to be entering the sign of Gemini, and with this, our collective consciousness is going to shift into this need to stabilize, ground, support, structure, like to create structure and predictability and resources in your existence into, okay, now's the time for us to start being curious, to ask questions, to explore. It is more playful. It is more non-committal. It is more interested in fun and levity and not trying to commit to anything for too long because it feels like life is short and there's so many things to go out there to explore. It can change. It can pivot as necessary. In the way that this feels light and brings levity into your life, for many of you guys, you might be exploring new hobbies, new ventures, exploring new paths of study. You might be looking into school subjects that you're going to be venturing off into, especially if you are a recent graduate. Congratulations to those who have graduated, and blessings to you who still have to go back, or to, you have a ways to go. Blessings to you with that. Everybody has their time. Okay, so trust yourself within your timing, but definitely apply yourself, because education is important. It's needed. It also helps to stretch your mind as far as the way that we think. I know that sometimes when you're in school, you can say, like, what is the point of me learning these types of things? I'm never going to have to use this and apply this. But really, if you can, try to open your mind here. And Gemini's, the sun entering through Gemini is going to help you to apply this lesson. Try to open your mind to exercising your brain to thinking in different ways. Okay, you can gain an education while also being a person who's learning from the world through gurus, through guides, through mentors, through elders. It's wonderful to be a well-rounded person when it comes to education of life, but also book knowledge. Okay, so there's going to be a trickle of our focus into books, studying, knowledge, exploration, travel. Book those trips, short jaunts. Go ahead and start exploring the new classes and new restaurants and new activities and hobbies that are popping up in your local neighborhood. Gemini energy is always known for focusing on what is closer to your home or where it is that you're currently living. There will be little pockets, blessings, and gifts that can be found there. Now, put a pin in that with exploring your neighborhood area, because, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, Saturday 25th, Jupiter, the planet of abundance, expansion, knowledge, philosophy, and wisdom, is going to meet the sun by entering into the sign of Gemini. Jupiter expands and explodes all that it touches, always. So this is a wonderful time even further to explore, to expound upon reading, experimenting, socializing, networking, getting involved, signing up for classes, meeting new friends, having conversations with old friends, being open to the energies that are mixing and mingling in the cosmic skies. It's going to bring a lot of light and levity. If anything is intense within these energies, it's going to definitely be because of information that's trickling out because of Saturn transiting through Pisces, and also Pluto retrograde transiting through Aquarius. This can bring some really interesting words of mouth, gossip. Listening to gossip will tell a whole nother branch of stories that we may not have seen otherwise. Have you heard the quote, where there's smoke, there's fire? This is definitely one of those times where looking into gossip and listening to word of mouth is sometimes can be toxic, but sometimes there's the truth there. So if you find that you are experiencing turbulence as you're navigating through these waters where it seems like everyone is having fun and experiencing levity, it's because it's absolutely important, at least through the eyes of the universe, your angels and your guides. They want to bring you more information to help you to be aware of some bits and pieces of information that people hold, secrets that they tell, things that you may not have heard of otherwise. For those of you guys that are listening to BehatiLife podcast, and you can't see right now, I'm currently lighting a few candles to give a little extra light to our reading so that it doesn't get too dark here, because the sun is steadily setting. I love this time though, honestly, because the energy of the birds changes significantly. It's interesting because today they are quiet. Usually they're loud and chirping and busy and making all their noise. I do hear a bird in the distance, one that I haven't recognized before, but he or she is not in my yard at this moment in time, but I'm still here for it. Okay. Let's go ahead and carry forward. So on Thursday, this is when we are going to have the full moon happening in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, we're going to go ahead and zip to the very opposite of the chart, and hopefully you can see this. If you're listening on BehatiLife podcast, you can follow along or pull the chart for yourself. I highly recommend pulling the chart for May 23rd, 2024 at 9:53 p.m. I'm sorry, 9:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the website that I love to work with is astro.com. I feel like other websites are so far have been very misinformative. I have some friends that reach out to me and they're like, hey Jess, quick question. I pulled my astrology chart and they're saying that this moon is happening in this house for me, but I don't really see that. Can you explain it for me a little further? And I'm like, well, what website did you use? What was your resource that you were using? And then they'll be like astroseek.com or something else like that. Nothing against them. Astro.com does not sponsor my YouTube channel. They are the abundant resource that I've used for years, and they're the ones who get it right every single time. I know that for a lot of you guys, learning astrology can be very intimidating. I understand that totally. I know that finding the time to do the deep dive to learn astrology in itself, finding that time is impossible sometimes, or not sometimes, but a lot of times for most people. So I understand using those websites as a crutch, but also remember that they're not as accurate as they could be or should be, in my opinion. Was I not just saying that the birds are usually out, and then as soon as I said that, my crow friends are coming in to the neighborhood, which I love. Okay, so yeah, this full moon is going to be happening in the sign of Sagittarius. If we want to talk about expansion, exploration, wisdom, philosophy, inner wisdom, inner knowledge, inner self-growth, inner expansion, this is that full moon that's going to activate those energies even further, and it's going to be such a blessing for every single one of us. I do want to tell you that with Uranus transiting through Taurus, there have been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of turbulence when it comes to finances, resources, and things that we value. That is because that's what Taurus rules. Definitely look at your personal chart to see what specifically Taurus rules. For me, I believe it's my house of friendships. It's created a lot of unpredictable changes and revealed to me a lot of things that I wouldn't necessarily have seen coming. When it comes to all of us collectively, and this is a very specific message for a general audience here, so you definitely want to look at your chart and apply it where it resonates, where it's meant to go. When it comes to the full moon happening in the sign of Sagittarius, Jupiter has just emptied out of the sign of Taurus and now is entering into Gemini, that which is the opposite of Sagittarius here. Jupiter also naturally is the ruler of Sagittarian energy, so it's going to abundantly pour into this full moon more than it usually does. We're going to feel this more than we normally would. Also, at the time of the full moon, put a little pin in this and mark my words with this, the Jupiter is going to be in this beautiful sextile, which is a pleasant little transit where the two energies of these planets conjoin and align. It's going to be in this beautiful sextile with Neptune, who is currently transiting through the final degrees of Pisces. This is going to create, mark my words, a huge blessing when it comes to those of you guys who have been bold enough to explore different ventures when it comes to your security, when it comes to your career, when it comes to your wealth, and even when it comes to your longevity, especially when it comes to happiness and things that are energetically aligned for you. A lot of you guys, I've been hearing, and with a lot of the readings that have been coming through, not this year, but last year and the years to come, one of the most questions that I've been getting asked, specifically from divine feminine energy, from my feminines out there, is what is my purpose? Why are there so many delays? Why are there so many blockages? And feeling this call and wanting to help as many people as possible, but not necessarily knowing how that's going to shape and form itself. Now, for those of you guys that did that reading, I hope that you guys are doing well. This is one of those times where you're going to start seeing the breakthrough, although it had to come through you working on yourself and freeing yourself from your own personal limitations and blockages that the majority of us don't even know or realize that it is that we're carrying. So, The full moon happening on the sign of Sagittarius is going to help to activate those energies and those blessings and those paths even further, especially if you were someone who was working on yourself, doing the spiritual work, releasing and freeing yourself from baggages, toxic connections, relationships that were stopping you from being able to be vulnerable, from being authentic, from moving with integrity and truly being seen. It definitely, for those of you guys that have been called into energy work and spirituality, your businesses, your blessings, your gift, your purpose the path is going to reveal itself to you more. But it came, I don't want to say at a price, it had to come through you understanding yourself and developing yourself further internally. And if you look back within the last 2.5 years specifically, I guarantee you'll see the growth that had to happen. And that some of the things, the connections that you think about now, I don't want to say that they would revolt you or disgust you in any way, shape, or form, but you'll look at it and say, those very things that were an attack to me, that were an attack to my heart, have made me strong. They've helped me to clearly see who I am. They've helped me to clearly see these outside influences that I was allowing inside. And they've allowed me to clearly release, let go, so that my own personal boundaries do not ever get compromised by these entities, people, places, energies that were a grub worm to your progress, your health, your longevity, your happiness. There is a keen message here when it comes to clarity and confliction, especially in things that you were conflicted in, especially when it comes to you feeling separated from yourself or disconnected. What do I do now? You're going to be able to gain so much clarity and direction in what your next steps will look like. Now, I know for many people, full moons are times where we release, we surrender, we let go. Yes, but for collectively, I also see the full moon as energy that is full, that is vibrant, that is ripe, and sitting right in front of you. The parts of you that have had shadows, the parts of you that were dormant, the parts of you that were untouched are now full and high. And this is a perfect time for you to capitalize on those, on your manifestation, for you to capitalize on next steps, for you to capitalize on prayer, for you to capitalize on recharging yourself, your batteries, to express yourself fully. Not for the sole purpose of releasing, letting go, and cleansing yourself, although you can set that intention too, but for the full purpose of you embracing all parts of you that have changed, that have ebbed and flowed. This is what that full moon is going to bring to you in abundance. If you are someone who works with manifestation, magic, setting intention, this full moon specifically will be powerful when it comes to your higher wisdom, when it comes to your intuition, when it comes to setting intention. I highly recommend the Higher Wisdom candle, fixed candle from my shop. I highly recommend the third oil, or the Mystic's Insight intention oil. I'll link it down below. You can apply it to your petition. You can apply it to your body. You can use it to amplify your intentions, your personal powers, your insight, your internal insight. Okay. But moving forward, the other things that I want you guys to look out for is on Saturday 24th, Venus ruling what we are attracted to, ruling beauty and aesthetic, currently transiting through the sign of Gemini. She's exploring, she's curious, she's fun, she's playful, she's lighthearted, she brings levity and joy and laughter. That's how she attracts. She is going to be in this beautiful trine with Pluto retrograde. And this is going to be another time where we are going to be focusing on, or where you are encouraged to focus on your personal power, on allowing things to be like what will be, and not needing to bring a sense of seriousness or heaviness in your relationships, in your life. It's going to be more about you attracting, you letting go, and knowing and understanding that the more confident, the more self-assured, the more that you understand yourself, the better you are to manifest, to attract things that are a perfect vibrational match for you. Definitely with Pluto retrograde releasing in the sign of Aquarius, there's going to be the sense of freedom and grace that you give yourself, that reminds you how special you are, how unique you are, how dormant some of your powers and your powers to attract have been. And the more that you silence that inner voice that's telling you like, I'm not good enough, or trying to pull, to entice, to manipulate something or someone to choose you, to attract you, when you start to let that go, especially as Venus is in this beautiful trine with Pluto, when you start to release and let that go, you're going to see the waters in your own life and your own confidence, your own blessings, your own abundance, the love, attraction, sensuality, sexuality increasing. You are going to be even more empowered, as you should. This is the full moon, and this is the week to speak life into yourself, to speak magnetism, attraction, uniqueness, and to highlight and to celebrate what makes you special and what makes you unique, instead of trying to be like everyone else or say what everyone else is saying or doing what everyone else is doing. There is always going to be a hyper focus in the years to come, starting now. Well, we've been in this energy, but definitely we're in the middle of it now, when it comes to your own uniqueness and embracing what makes you, what makes you strange. For some of you guys too, there's going to be a lot of rejection of status quo, whether it be getting rid of things, if it shows up in things and material goods, especially because Uranus is transiting through the sign of Taurus right now. Some of you guys are going to be embracing minimalism. Some of you guys are going to be creating things that it is that you want and need for yourself. Some of you guys are going to be embracing new cultures, different belief systems that were once barricaded away from you, and now that's your new home, that's your community, and I love that for you. I really do. So a few things to look forward to into the future. Queen Bee Homestead will be reopening. The bowls for the batches of body butters are being deeply cleansed right now. Physically cleansing, not spiritual cleansing. They already were spiritually cleansed, but we're going to continue cleaning them to make sure that they are pristine for the body butters to be whipped up. They're going to be opening up at queenbeehomestead.com, queenbeehomesteadco.com. Also, for those of you guys that have placed orders within the apothecary, BehatiLife, thank you so much. Those are going to be, some of them are being created because there are a lot of custom candles and a lot of custom oils. They're going to be created in this week and the two weeks to follow. So it is going to take some time. Thank you so much for your patience. Do know that everything that I create is here at my altar. It's always made by hand. It's never compromised by me rushing, me taking shortcuts. For that reason, there's over 100 orders. It does take time and patience. I do not abide by society's rules of speeding and trying to get things out as quickly as possible. My intention is always that every candle, every oil is infused with the intention that the person deserves. It's going to change their life forever. And I believe that. I've used it to change my life. I've used it to help my family and my friends. They still to this day call me for different things that they are working on, goals, situations that are coming up and popping up in our lives, which is inevitable as human beings. And they come to me, friends, family, and even old clients for years, because they know that I put my all into everything that it is that I do and touch. And I am not going to apologize for that or try to speed that up. So thank you guys again for understanding my process and understanding that I'm not in a world that is constantly trying to replicate, duplicate, and make as much fast, quick, cheap, and throw it out at their clients and customers just for the sake of speed. This is just a part of my routine and who I am as a person, Virgo. I am going to do the job right and thorough and take my time, and that can be frustrating, but it does come from a good place, and the end result is always going to be more helpful to your intention than if I was to just mass produce things. So that's always what you can expect from BehatiLife in the past, present, and in the future. Same thing for Queen Bee Homestead. We do not take shortcuts, and by we, I mean me, myself, and I. We do not take shortcuts when it comes to quality, when it comes to whipping up the product, the butters. There is no one, in my opinion, and I say this confidently and cocky, I do not believe that there's anyone in this world that I have met so far that whips up the body butters the way that I do, and that is the truth. I would be very impressed, and I would be in awe, and I would hug that person who is able to whip them up in the same way that I have. And those things, they take time. It takes me about 2 to 3 days to whip up the entire process to complete without stopping one body butter or one batch of body butters. And that's something that you're putting on your skin. You're putting in your hair. You're putting on your children. You're putting on your belly. Me, I'm pregnant right now. I'm using it to bless my body and to help my body while she's doing what she's got to do, creating life right now. And that's not something that should be rushed, because don't you deserve the best? Don't you deserve the best? Don't you deserve the best? I believe that you do. All right, my loves, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Links to everything will be found down below. I do not think that I'll be making a custom oil for the full moon in Sagittarius, because my energy is going to be hyper-focused on custom candles and oils and the orders that are going out. So thank you guys for asking those questions too. Maybe one day the customs will come back for the full and new moons, but for right now, just the volume of the apothecary is good enough, that I don't have the time, to be able to take more on my plate. Okay. Until then, you guys, feel free to please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, because I'm constantly posting content there, or X, which was once Twitter. And I will see you on any one of those platforms. If you have any questions, email me at info@BehatiLife.com. And if you have any questions about your order, just use the text message support phone number down below. It will go directly to a human being, my assistant Amina or myself. It is not an automated or AI response. Of course, you're not going to find that with BehatiLife. It's always going to be one-on-one attention. So if you need help picking out an item from the apothecary, from the shop, don't use DMs. Use that text message or the email address, and either me or Amina will be more than happy to help you. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next video, probably most likely shuffling cards and doing an intuitive dive into the energy, the magic of the full moon that's happening in the sign of Sagittarius. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.